Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 605. Today we'll be playing the Ranger in Backpack Battles. And so, a bit of a delayed start to this week. We've got the new class we'll be battling with in the Ranger. We've got the new bag in the Briarweave coat. Absolutely 100% wrong. Vineweave basket. And there was also a new patch coming out that I wanted to talk about a little bit as well. But the big kind of like theme that I think I wanted to take on this video was the over the course of RNG. And I've actually thought about this quite a bit over the course of the past few days and how to really kind of put it together and piece it together. And I think I finally kind of come together to where I thought. And the idea I have with this is like, what is good RNG versus bad RNG, right? I'm not a game developer. I'm sure that there's like great terms for this, and there's probably people out there that have talked about this to great extent, but I think there's both good RNG and bad RNG, right? We're playing a game that's very RNG centric. That's what we get playing drafting games, playing card games, or whatever. If you don't want to deal with RNG, then go play Go, right? Go play chess, play a game with perfect information, no randomization to it, and you never have to worry about it. It's not a thing, right? But that's what is one of the aspects and elements that makes each game different, makes each game interesting, and it adds big high points and low points potentially to each game. But it's not to say that RNG can't be approached in different ways, and to me, there's good ways and bad ways to go about it. And so to kick things off with something, it's say a term of a good way. And so if we want to take a look at the Ranger and then just say critical strike in general. And so if we're wanting to say we're building towards critical strike with any of the things like the Ranger bag, the Mega Clover, whatever, to me, critical strike is a very interesting and good way to go about RNG. You start at 0%. You don't get any of that bonus damage. Over the course of the game, you might just incidentally pick up some stuff that will give you a 10% chance to crit, 20% chance to crit. That's fine. Or as the Ranger goes, you tend to have a lot of builds that shoot way up to 100%, so every attack you have is guaranteed to make a crit. But that's where you can start to get some interesting concepts and points within your build, in the sense of, do I only want to have one Acorn Collar and have like a 75% chance to crit, or do I want to try and find two Acorn Collars so I get that 100% chance to crit? Now, as the game progresses, you're going to be like over crit, which doesn't do anything, so you're throwing away resources and having that abundance of crit, but you're guaranteed to get one every time, to where you may want to save some money, only have one collar, be stuck at like 75-80% chance to crit. You're going to crit on most of your attacks, but not all of them. That's a bit of downside. And so to me, like, this is good RNG. There's a lot of agency, a lot of decision making in to what we're doing with these critical attacks. We may just completely ignore it. We may have some incidentally. We may build towards it. We may try to max it out. There's a lot of good and interesting decision making that comes within this, and you can still get those kind of interesting and high action moments to where you accidentally have 10% crit. You pop off 2 crits in a row. You win a battle that you shouldn't have. Like, you know, fine. That's interesting and exciting. Crit to me is kind of one of the pinnacles of good RNG in the sense. Now, the way that I wanted to kind of describe bad RNG is I didn't want to call something specifically out within the game, but the thing that came to mind to me as like a card gamer was be like, let's say we're playing Hearthstone, or we're playing like Legends of Runeterra, one of these games to where you just generate a mana every turn and then that's your resource for the rest of the game. What if there was a card that it was just a 0 mana spell? You can play it on the first turn of the game, roll a dice, 5 or a 6, gain a mana gem, 1, 2, 3, 4, do nothing, right? That's to me like a horrifically bad example of RNG put into a game. And those games to where you lose the roll, right? You hit 1 to 4, you're probably not guaranteed to lose, right? You can most certainly win games of Magic on a mulligan to 6, a mulligan to 5. It's not unheard of. You're definitely at a disadvantage, but it's not the end of the world. You can still potentially win the game, but I would be willing to bet those games to where you roll the 5 or a 6, you shoot up to like a 90% win rate. And to me, like, that just high risk, high reward, like not interesting but highly impactful amount of RNG is what I would consider bad RNG. And where this is all coming about is I feel like there's a lot of items being added to backpack battles that are just bad RNG. And the bag that we're playing this week kind of personifies that to me, as to where, good, you can still see the bottom of the bag, as to where in rounds 1 and 10 the sale chance is increased by 12%. And so it's not like your champion or your battler, your bagger, whatever we're called in this game, it's not like you're just getting a flat amount of gold, right? It's not like the ranger just starts at 13 gold when everyone else gets 12. On these two specific rounds, you have this really high RNG centric way to get ahead. If you hit, you're off to the races. You have to like invest in this because it's, just a super high reward if you start to hit. And so if you start rolling and miss, then you are just so super far behind, right? And so what we kind of commonly see with a lot of builds within backpack battles is on turn one of the game, you're often rolling looking for a 4-slot bag, right? You run into a lot of spaces to where you need like a broom, and then you need like a pan, and then your bag is full without it, or maybe you picked up a leather armor and it doesn't fit without the 4-slot bag. And so they're more commonly found in the early turns of the game, so you're incentivized to roll. And so like that's like one aspect of the game that is kind of good RNG to me, but there is so much economy tied into hitting items on sale that this is just kind of an absurdity to me. And so these games to where you start out and you have like 4 and 5 items on sale in the shop, and you're completely filling out your bags, and you're rolling into the second turn with like 3 gold extra, you were just like so super far ahead in those games that it's fantastical. But now we're adding in this additional element to where, cool, I'm highly incentivized to roll if I hit like multiple on sale items, probably shooting my win rate up to like 70, 80, 90%. And then if I lose and miss, like I'm definitely at a disadvantage the rest of the way. And it just doesn't like feel good. Like it doesn't deliver those good, feels good moments that you want to hit out of RNG. And I just like absolutely hate that this stuff exists. It's like, to me, one thing, if these items like the recombobulator, let's see if we can get that up here, like these like recombobulator items also hate these, but these things that consume the items to generate other items with the same value. Same thing with this unstable one. It creates items with the different combined value. It's actually at a +1 gold now. I think these are kind of like fine in the random RNG sense. We can just choose to ignore these. If you're a Timmy power gamer and you want to try and take big advantage of these recombobulators, fine. But if you're out here playing the Ranger, you just can't avoid it. You can't ignore that cards like that and ideas and abilities like that exist. And so it's been like a real bummer for me for this week. Like I'll be glad when this week is over and we just don't have to engage with this bag anymore. But like I really don't like seeing the direction that the game is pushing down, creating all of these RNG centric items. Because to me it just I don't know, maybe it's because I take everything from like the kind of competitive perspective, but it feels like they're all designed as bad RNG items and not good RNG items. And so like with that in mind, it does bring up the patch notes. I wanted to kind of call it out because we're stuck playing with this Ranger case this week to where the sale bonus went up. This Ranger sucks. This bag is terrible. So how do we make it better? We add in just these huge RNG bonuses. And so it's like you have different ways to get to a 55% win rate. Right? You can be, say, you have just a average 55% win rate. You play 100 games, you win 55 of them, or you can be in that space to where, God, to put the math on me on the spot, right? But you win like 80% and lose 20%, or however that works out to where it's not like right at the average in the middle. It's just very, very spiky in terms of how it goes. That's how we're making the Ranger better. When you power spike, you win. When you don't power spike, you lose. And so I really don't like seeing the direction that these kind of things take. Same thing applies out here. The sack of surprises, the pyromancer bag generates higher valued shit. The recombobulator is now cheaper. You come down here, the unstable recombobulator creates stuff with a higher value. And so you're just getting more and more incentivized to go for these RNG aspects, which are just like high power spike kind of moments. And I'm not a huge fan of seeing that. And so it kind of is what it is. The developers do what the developers do. I personally don't like it. Maybe the majority of the people love it. It is what it is. But nonetheless, as far as the remainder of these patch notes go, before we dive in to talking about the Ranger itself, some of these seem fine. Like to me, the Blood Harvester and the Dancing Dragon were already fairly strong. They got their cost reduced. Good for them. The Villain Sword catching a buff as well. To me, the Villain Sword, it feels like there's a really high-powered build with it, and I just haven't found it and figured it out. But it's much cheaper now as well. Artifact Stone Death, cheaper as well. This was actually, I thought it was garbage at first, but it's actually extremely high powered, especially on the Reaper, passing out critical strike when you get fatigue damage done. And so you can use the Artifact Stone with the dark crystal to put crit on stuff that doesn't deserve it. So very interesting there. Starting to see upgrades to some of the badges as well. The wolf badge, flame badge, both getting pretty heavy upgrades. I would like to just think at what point you'll take item that generates 6 heat. You know, spending like 5 gold for a single item generating 6 heat's not that bad, especially if you're able to generate things like Ruby Chunk that can start to stun when you have a certain heat. And so interesting seeing those go up. Seeing some bonuses to amulets, that fine. The spiked shield is one that has been buffed 2 patches in a row. It strikes me as the kind of item that is exceptionally good in the right meta. The right meta is not now. I think that there's too many ranged weapons in the early game to make the spiked shield good, but when the meta kind of circles around to being more melee centric, I could definitely see it doing big things. Shell Totem catches a slight nerf, and then Holy Spear catches an upgrade. This is an item that I kind of feel like is on the edge of being exceptional. It doesn't take a ton of work for the Holy Spear to be good. Getting a 10 armor shred and a debuff removal for 1 holy item is fairly easy to pull off, and I felt like there were a few builds in the previous patch that kind of incidentally wanted the Holy Spear. I felt like there were some Berserker Holy Spear builds that I just wasn't quite getting together, but seeing the cost reductions there are kind of an interesting thing. As far as the remainder of this stuff, the main Pyromancer bag sells for less now, that's fine. The Berserker bag catches a buff. The Ranger bag catches buffs on both pieces. And then the Reaper new bag catches a slight nerf again, 2 patches in a row, the nerf to the Reaper. And so, interesting stuff there. No really huge and high-powered upgrades hitting across the board. It feels like they're really getting kind of tuned in with this new bag patch to where they want things. And so, moving forward, coming out here to talk about the Ranger, I do not like this bag. I think it brings forth some kind of interesting concepts and ideas, right? If we think of the Ranger and their like main item in the Critwood staff, right? This was an item that I felt like was pure garbage in the previous patch. If you wanted to get max crit, you could do it. You didn't really get like any incentive to go towards the Critwood staff and then like use this crit thing because crit was so easy to hit out of the standard Ranger bag. But now that we move over into this bag that doesn't just naturally generate critical strike, I think that Ranger item comes more interesting. And while I do talk a lot of trash about all of these bags and some of the aspects and elements that do worry me about it, I think it is at least kind of interesting now that something like the Vineweave basket comes forth and makes the Critwood staff relevant. And so to that degree, it's kind of interesting to me. But otherwise, I touched on the RNG aspect, the round 1 in 10 sale chance, absolutely fucking hate. The only thing remaining within this is your healing is amplified by 10%. And so you get an additional bonus for each nature item within the bag. And so to me, like on the grand scale of things within backpack battles, you want to be on the side of dealing damage as opposed to doing sustain. There are a few builds that are sustain heavy. You might have it run into the later stages if you're having a big max health style of build coming out of a Berserker cheese build or something, that's fine. But at the end of the day, if you had the option to deal 200 damage or to heal 200 damage, you want to be dealing that damage. You don't get any kind of bonus for overhealing within this game, right? If you are at 200 health, let's say that you have max 200 health and you're at 150 and you heal 100, you just lose out on that 50 damage, right? That 50 heal, you don't get a shield for it. You don't get any other kind of bonus for overhealing. You just basically were less efficient than you technically could have been. You should have been spending that healing on other damage-based items or damage-based things, right? But when it comes to damage, you always want to just be dealing more damage. There's no difference in dealing, getting the win like by overkill, but just as it kind of comes down to it, just dealing extra damage is always better than healing. I'm not a huge fan of the healing nature of this, especially with there being 2 types of healing in the game. So with armor and then also with the healing aspect. And so what we'll very commonly see as we do battle this week with the Ranger is we're going to come out and build a lot of leather armors. Gives you 45 armor at the beginning of the game. That just like is counterproductive with healing, right? If you're not actually losing health, you're not using your healing bonuses. And so it runs into some stuff that way. And so I wish that there was a really easy way to kind of come in and fix it. There's not, to me. This bag just kind of sucks. And so I really hate everything about it. Healing is garbage. I don't like this RNG aspect to it, but we're just going to try our best to trudge through the week with the Vineweave basket and then just switch it up to the Pyromancer as soon as Friday gets here. But on the grand scale of things, as to what I think we'll see out of this bag this week, there are a few legitimate builds, right? And so the big thing to me to kind of call out with these are going to be the subclass items, and there's no real reason to go for piercing arrows or mega clovers. Now, that's not a great way to say it. That's not a super factual way to say it. There will be real reasons to go about this, but for the piercing arrow or for the mega clover to actually do anything, you have to find critwood rings, right? When you naturally got crit out of the ranger bag, these items just kind of worked. But if you don't have critwood rings to get the bonus crit damage on the piercing arrow or to just make the mega clover more useful, the mega clover just generating these buffs isn't quite enough to be good. You're not going to scale well enough with these things. It's just too much of the main portion of your build doesn't do anything. And so it's not to say that we'll never go piercing arrow, we'll never go mega clover. It's just one of those builds that's going to come across like 5% of the time when the stars really align with the critwood rings and the way things are coming together. And so as we only have like a week to talk about the ranger, I'll probably just look to go ahead ignore these. And that brings us to bringing the bowl of treats, the Yggdrasil leaf, and then the poison ivy. Now, the thing to me with the Yggdrasil leaf, number one, I think healing is garbage. And so that brings a problem number one to the leaf. Problem number two with the leaf is you have to spend mana to actually get these bonuses. And so that can be very challenging to do in the early to mid game, because you only have a handful of ways that you can spend mana. So you have to find either a magic torch, right? The magic potion plus a torch. You have to find a magic dagger, essentially the same thing, a dagger with the magic potion, or you have to come across a wand. And without those, you can't really use the Yggdrasil leaf because there's not any early game mana dumps that you can just spend your mana into to start activating this thing. And so the things that tend to cost 10 mana and give you invulnerability, while they are spectacular with the leaf, those aren't things you typically find until you've already gotten the leaf. And so in my experience with the Yggdrasil leaf with this bag, it's the two items that should really be kind of comboing together, and they just do a super shitty job of doing it unless you come up with a wand before the subclass item selection round. Otherwise, I don't know how many games I've gone through to where I'll take the leaf and then just find literally 0 ways to spend mana. And so it's a very frustrating item in the sense that there's only a handful of ways to actually use it, and if those ways don't turn up, then you're fucked. And so we'll probably find ourselves going for the Yggdrasil leaf at some point during the week, but I very commonly just find ourselves going for Big Bowl of Treats and Poison Ivies. And so the way that I tended to come out and start approaching these games is we'll start out Thorns for the most part. If the Thorns turn up, then we'll build towards Poison Ivy. But if Dragons start showing up, we'll take Big Bowl of Treats. And that's what this bag really breaks down to me in terms of what we're going to do. Just absolutely coming out, ignoring the majority of the healing aspect. It's a nice early game function, or early round function, but it does absolutely nothing towards the end of the survival rounds. And then we're either going to be going towards Thorns with Poison Ivies, be it a Thorn Whip build or a big Thorn Bow OTK kind of build, or we're just going to use the Big Bowl of Treats to activate pets and give us random buffs, and we'll use it like if we find an early Goobert and we find an early Dragon, then we're definitely going to be going towards the Big Bowl of Treats. And so that is the kind of general idea with this shitbag ranger. The old shitbag ranger. And so let's dive in and see what kind of excitement we can get ourselves into here today. And so again, the big thing out of the ranger here is going to be this 22% sale chance on the first round of the game. We have a piggy bank on sale, missed everywhere else, and there's not any items that I actually want out of these. The kind of core item that I'm going to be looking for is the short sword to turn into a torch. We need that access to the torch if something actually turns up to where we do want to go towards the leaf build, and it's just kind of a strong early game item to go with. And so we'll look towards it. There's nothing on sale here, which is a real bummer. We'll pick up the stone just because it's kind of free. take a roll, see if we hit anything. And so a good roll here, we hit a bag, definitely want. Hit the wooden buckler on sale as well, that's fine. And now we do have a couple of other good options here in both a bow, a wooden sword, and a lucky clover, which we don't really want in any of these builds. It just doesn't do enough when it's not giving us critical hit in the early game. And so what I think we'll be looking to do here is I do want to pick up the short sword, but it does a little bit less damage than the short bow, and turning the short bow into the tusk poker is going to be kind of one of our premier early game items. And so I think we want to kick things off with the bow, and then there's no need to lock in the sword. We should be able to just pick one up on a later round. I would ideally find something with... ideally find something on sale, though. And so, I guess that was a reasonable set of sales. I mean, we've got 4, 8, 13, 17, 18, 19 gold worth of stuff. When you start with 12 gold plus 12, 16, 17, I don't know, I guess we ended up plus 2 gold on the round. That doesn't sound very spectacular. Let's be real, that doesn't sound that great. But all right, moving forward, just got murdered by that spear. Turn 1 spears are exceptionally hard to take down. There is some decent stuff here, though. We'll pick up the shiny shell. It's on sale. We'll pick up the lump of coal in case a short sword turns up. Not super interested in going for whetstones. If it was on sale, I would take it, but not really interested in it here. The pocket sands aren't terrible, right? It is a nature item that start of battles for the piggy banks, but not super interested in it at this point. Okay, moving forward, and so we don't have any short swords up to this point, a real bummer. I do really like the healing herbs. We are going to find ourselves going for a lot of builds that involve vampirism, and so the healing herbs do kind of double duty in terms of activating the Vineweave basket, activating the piggy bank, and then having us a nice sustain item early. And so we typically find some of these, and that just backdoors us into picking up some vampiric type items. And we'll see if that's how it plays itself out here today. Otherwise, not the greatest set of stuff again. I think we probably want this banana. We'll put the shiny shell in, that's fine. We'll load up the lump of coal, lock in the leather bag. It's kind of tough here, right? Just all this stuff being so expensive. We really need to get another weapon out here, but it's been very pricey. I'm not certain if we shouldn't just be selling the bow and generating this shovel for the turn. Doesn't sound horrible. Does this berserker run out of mana here? Or run out of stamina? I think he does. I think if he runs out of stamina when we hit fatigue, we should be in decent shape. I don't know. It's falling down fast. He just hits his battle rage. Bummer. Thought we might have been able to take that one down. Okay, moving forward though, just another complete set of garbage, just a bunch of stuff I don't want. Just all of the build around items haven't really turned up at this point, but we need the bag space. We'll pick up a bag, not opposed to a second pig. Get some of those monies up and running, and then let's take a roll. Ideally, we got to find a weapon out here, and so I think we can take one more roll, right? We can sell the shiny shell, both of the stones, if we find another weapon. Just fuck nothing. Just fucking nothing. Oh, this has been brutal. I mean, I know we've passed on some weapons. We could have picked up we could have locked the short sword. We could have taken a pan. We could have taken the broom. We just passed on all of it and then came out here and completely whiffed. And so how are we going to salvage this, right? I think we want to pick up the walrus tusk. We can still get some decent usage out of it. I think I'm going to prefer building up walrus tusk into the spike shield. The way I'm kind of envisioning this is we're probably going to go towards pets. I'm looking towards locking in this goobert and picking it up, pivoting out of these weapons because they've all just been so bad, and then seeing if we can't get something happening with the goobert for the sustain, and then picking up just like literally any mid-game weapon that turns up, a spear, a tusk ripper, or a tusk whatever thorn ripper kind of thing, like anything like that. I think will hopefully set us off, because I mean we do have good economy at this point, right? We have the double piggy bank. We can sell them if we need to. We have decent sustain. Just our we're not using enough stamina at this point. Maybe we just have to let the goobert go. Ugh. I don't know. We're kind of building towards thorns, right? Kind of. All right. I think this round might be like the last round. We're not going to take any damage here, but if we can wear out this guy's armor by the time we hit fatigue, I think he's going to be out of stamina and not have enough health to fight through it. I'm not entirely certain that's going to be the case. It looks like his health is falling lower than ours, but he's got that battle rage at the end. All right, we got a round, we got a victory. I didn't think we had it in us, you know? And all right, the shovel up here on sale, like, I guess we have to take it. We can just add it to our bag at this point and roll. If a better weapon shows up, we can just go that route, but like it's just so late to be picking up a shovel at this point, right? Like adding in the, you know, it's like if you get a shovel on turn 1, turn 2, and it's your like secondary item generating money, it's not that bad, but having the shovel at this point just feels so late in the game. All right, well, let's put the lump of coal onto the leather bag. I'm curious at this point, what if we just make a pandemonium, right? We do have the corrupted crystal out here, and it's still a very like high DPS item. You can completely ignore the food on pandemonium, and just having a 5 DPS item with a super low stamina is just strong, right? I mean, just 0.3 stamina a second is absolutely nothing. We could actually find ourselves out here doing something like pandemonium at 0.3 and then 2 tusk pokers at 0.4. That only gets us up to 1.1. Like you don't drain any stamina that way. And so maybe that's what we're actually looking for here. I'm not really interested in making a shovel at this point. It's just too late in the game. So let's do this. Let's sell off the bow. We'll sell off the charcoal. Look to make pandemonium here. I don't want to put the corrupted crystal within the pan. It feels like with our build, we're probably going to be going to fatigue anyways, and we'll get more damage out of fatigue than we will out of the pan getting that bonus damage. Does this guy even deal any damage? That is a really high-powered dagger coming at us. Jesus Christ. I think we got lucky we hit him before the dagger upgraded. Just a perfect round for the crystal to just hang out. Get those big damages in. Okay, good stuff. And so yeah, let's see what we can do. Again, like I don't want to broadcast like I'm gonna be going for a very heavy food build because we found pandemonium. This is just a really high quality attacking item, right? Getting this 5 deeps on its own in addition to the poison that it inflicts. So it's going to let us just build other combat-based items. This is actually super strong once you get that being the mindset. We're not going to go for a shitty food build. We just got this as a good deep style of item. So here, let's pick up this bag. Let's pick up the food. I'd like to roll. Ideally, we'll pick up another weapon at some point. Don't really want the pan. Pineapple's too expensive. It's like, I guess we could greed mode here and just pick up another piggy bank. It's not exciting, but it's not the end of the world. What else are we going to find? Like, I guess the thing we could say about this is we could potentially roll and like find an onion or find a blueberries or something, which kind of counts as damage here. I think I'm okay with that. We're not going to use any of this stuff. I don't think the Stone Skin Potion is kind of interesting. Maybe it's worth a keep if we want to say Stone Skin Potion into Gloves of Power. I don't hate it. We do need to kind of figure out where we're going to go in terms of like weapons. Like Thorn Bloom isn't off the table at this point. Anything generating into the Hungry Blade is kind of fine. Like I'm okay with all of that. I think it's just safe to say I'm not going to go for mana builds at this point. Do we want a Stone Skin Potion though? Like it would be so much easier if we already had like a leather armor to make sure we could activate this with. I mean, I guess, like, is there ever a world to where we look to build towards this pineapple, right? Just look to go thorns from here. Like, the thing that I like with thorns is using, like, 3 tusk piercers, right? You don't get it together all of the time, but going with poison ivy and the tusk piercer and then activating right at the start of combat for 12 thorns to put 24 poison on the opponent is pretty high powered, and then you just drain your thorns away from that point forward. And so that's where I typically like to go for thorns. I don't hate the idea of trying to chase that down. Maybe we do prefer thorns. We don't have any pets at this point, right? We let the gooberts go. We don't have any upgrades kind of lining up for them, right? We don't have any carrots to make a carrot goobert, and so maybe that is the way to go about it. Trying to convince myself if we'll ever go for a light goobert. I mean, King Goobert's not, excuse me, not off the table, but this is tough. I'm just gonna take the roll, see what turns up. So we do get the blueberries out of this. I feel okay just letting the wooden sword go. And then I am going to lock in the helmet. Now, it is kind of interesting with that box of riches, right? I'm not completely opposed to going for the King Goobert. It doesn't take a ton of mana to activate this thing and make it useful. And so, like, it's not crazy to go for, right? But I would really prefer the box of riches to be on sale. All right, let's just lock in the helmet and go. Probably a way to do these foods a little bit better with our Vineweave bag, but yeah, you know. Want to talk about RNG? How awesome is this item, right? Increased chance to find uniques, and then your weapons are just stronger than the other people's weapons. Love that item. But all right, good deal. Well done, Pandemonium. Let's see how we can push on now. So definitely want the cap. As I've been doing patch after patch after patch now, I really want 2 copies of Cap of Resilience. Just this, it just does everything you want, right? Nullifying the buffs is huge. The reduced damage helps keep you from getting OTK'd right in the beginning, and then the healing shreds is still kind of relevant. And so happy enough with that. How do we want to look at this other stuff, though? I'm not opposed to picking up things like the banana. Shortbow's not really doing anything. Like it is a pain point here that we're just not using any stamina. We're just not using one of our resources whatsoever. And so, I mean, picking up the shortbow, just this item sucks so much. We really need to find like just the spear. Like a spear would do wonders for what we have going on now. But can we just add in another banana here and still get activations out of it? I mean, we should be able to do something like this, right? So we get the extra location. Okay, well, I guess that kind of counts as dealing more damage, right? If we get 2 activations out of that banana, that's going to be 2 poison on the opponent. Look out, 2 poison. Look out. All right, not a bad takedown though. On to the next round. What do we got here? And interesting stuff, right? Interesting stuff. So we have the mana orb actually turn up. We could look to pivot over to a mana build, but it's a bit of a stretch for me at this point in the sense that now we have to go and find a broom, right? And I'm just not particularly interested in that. What I think that we're going to be stuck doing is I am interested in going for thorns, but the problem for going after any of these thorns builds is we don't have any walrus tusks, right? And it's a common item or maybe like a barely rare item. They don't show up too much in the late game, and so it's going to be tough to assemble a lot of these things. I kind of feel like what we need to be digging towards here is probably just a King Goobert, and then digging towards just digging towards dragons and pets. And so with that in mind, like, how do we want to approach this? Do we still want to pick up a mana orb if we're going to try and go for the King Goobert? Like, I think pets are definitely where we're going. But is that guy good enough, right? Let's wait on that, see if something turns up later. Let's take a roll. Guess the customer card's on sale. Wasn't quite as spectacular as I was hoping. Trying to see if we can't make these bags work. Need to do something like this, right? Now we can get our our 1 hex on the spear and then get the blueberries out in action with these other things. That looks fine. I don't think we ever want these gloves of haste. Again, we would be looking to build gloves of the power, the stone skin ones. I don't hate it, but it does work kind of nice with the pandemonium, but let's let that go. Kind of interested in this. We'll take the customer card, might as well, right? We'll at least get the bonus on the first roll of the next round, and then we can just sell it if we want. Okay, okay. He's starting to zing us. The damage is starting to stack up on that staff. All right, so end of the subclass. Yeah, I mean, I think we're just stuck with Beastmaster, right? We have no crit items, so the Grovekeeper and the Hunter don't do anything. We passed on that magic orb, so the Life Binder is not doing anything. We can't activate it. We have barely a Thorns item, right? And the Spiked Shield. You could count the debuff protection as, you know, kind of good enough, but I think we're kind of too far away from that. We're just going to be taking the big bowl of treats here. At least kind of synergizes with what we're doing. And this here is a very powerful round for us with both a Ripsaw Blade and a Dragon Egg. And so let's snatch these good items up. So we get a 3-cell out of the Spear. Get to pick up the Ripsaw Blade. The Dragon Egg is probably going to be a pain point to fit in here. I guess we could just sell the Spiked Shield at this point. It's not spectacular here anyways. Okay. And then we want to get our big bowl of treats in. Probably get some better activations out of these items. That looks decent enough. Alright. Next round. And again, like this food, it feels like... Oh, we need to lock this gemstone bag if we're going to try and make the goobert. I was going to say, it feels like there should be a way to maximize these foods just a little bit. We do have this 1 hex in the Vineweave bag. We're just not using either, but it feels like we're at least in the right direction here in terms of what our build is doing. The old Ripsaw Blade, the Thorn Ripper, if you will. Bringing in a victory. I appreciate that. Now, what do we got here? We're starting to see the pets turn up. To me, this one's fine. It's not super spectacular, but it does deal damage, which is useful, right? I wish it was kind of on sale. Let's do this. This is going to be an expensive round. Let's pick up the Box of Riches and just start taking rolls. We need to find a goobert. And we don't have that yet, so definitely want to get the Cap of Resilience up and running. We have 2 hexes in our bag. We should be able to get everything in use here. our setup here is so fucky. That'll work, right? All right, that's all that matters. We got everything in all the bags. The bags have been filled. What more could you ask for? What do we got here? Looks like a dragon. The giant longsword. The giant burning longsword. Just smashed us. That guy just annihilated us. Alright, but we got our dragon up and online, though. That's a big deal. So moving forward now, it's like we definitely want the leather bag. I do like the squirrels, as we tend to find ourselves getting into kind of sustained fights in these rounds. Stealing the buffs is kind of decent. It's not the greatest thing, but it's not horrible. I do want to pick up this Cryptwood ring, and then the Shield of Valor, also kind of interested in. We do need a little bit of defensive items out here, and so maybe we'll look to snatch it up. I am okay to just start selling off some of these foods as well. Kind of tempted in this Thorn Whip. What's our stamina at now? Like 1.2? Maybe we just let the whip go. Look to do something like this. Get the squirrel in, get the collar in. There should be a way. This is to where the round is going to get kind of nasty. We need to get the dragon in here with the ring as well. Maybe our bag starts to look something like this. let's see. We still want this banana in. Dragon in. This guy can kind of fit in somewhere. This is going to be pretty awkward. How else can we bring ourselves to do this? Like I think the ideal way is, I mean, probably something like this to where we have this circle of goodies. Then we can start to get the pets in here otherwise. Not a particularly optimal way to go about this, but I do want to have all of our as much attacky stuff as we can onto this acorn collar, and it's going to be just a little bit awkward wrapping stuff around the longsword. Maybe it's better to switch it over to the other side. And we can kind of fit the dragon in like this. Gets a big wide swath of free space out here. Maybe this is just time to sell the piggy banks as well. Kind of want to pick up this Shield of Valor. Where'd it go? There it goes. So, all right, here. This'll be everyone's favorite time. Okay, are you ready? There we go. Let's just come in and figure this out real quick. So the stuff that we're going to be looking to pull off here, I guess we can put the Shield of Valor out at the edge. Or here, let's just start at the bottom. This is my least favorite part of the game. Just get the Ripsaw blade at the bottom. I think we can then maybe pull off something like this, to where the Pandemonium's gonna be up here, and then we'll have, say, like the dumb bag up here at the top, so that our foods at the top of the Pandemonium are now going up into the bag. Then we get the dragon out here to the left of the acorn collar, and then it's not too much awkward space underneath the Pandemonium now. I think that's okay. Now we can start to wrap in the squirrel. Alright, it's not going to be super ideal with the cap and the shield, but they're necessary items, and then we'll get it to work after this point. There's this. We want the bowl of treats. Are we okay with this without just like not getting a ton of activations off of the Pandemonium? I mean, I think it's okay. So we're going to be in a spot like this. Sorry it took forever to kind of get here, but leaving one banana at home I think is fine. Got 4 food activating on the bananas. That's all the food that we have on board anyways. Okay, I think we're good. Definitely feels like some serious upgrades from like 2 rounds ago. Getting the dragon online, the big sword, the real defense, and the Shield of Valor. Feels like we're going places. All right, got a victory. Okay, so definitely want the oil lamp. One of the problems that the ranger runs into is not scaling on attack that well. There's not a ton of growing damage unless you're in some kind of empowered build, and so I do want to pick up oil lamps when they present themselves. Prismatic orb we're probably not going to be able to use. What was this other stuff? Probably want to lock in the speed bag. The thing I was curious about was Fancy Fencing Rapier. It doesn't combo with the acorn collar, right? And so it's kind of it's the premier late game. I'm not building around a specific item, right? That's what we're kind of getting out of the Ripsaw blade. But I care about those clovers, and then having the clovers just get shredded off of the rapier and not giving us any crit is a real pain point. So we'll let that go. That's not going to be a thing. We're generating some gems out here. Like this feels like one of the most relevant gems ever. Just picking up a chipped amethyst and getting that 15% healing shred. Seems huge to me. All right, Probably could have got the banana in this round. What she said. But we'll see if we fix it in next round. Seemed like this one was going okay, and then the dude just gained 120 armor. And so well, maybe we can still sustain through this. It doesn't seem like he's dealing too much damage to us at this point. I got to take down. Go us. Definitely want the fanny pack. I do like Wolpentingers. It's going to be a little bit expensive at this point. So let's just lock it and roll. Now we're getting the upgrades we need. We still need to find a Goobert, but the glowing crown into the box of riches is one of our key upgrades here. And so how do we want to go about this? I'm looking at, say, just putting the oil lamp in the speed bag, putting the box of riches and the on sale crown, what a deal, over here to combine. We do have like this space to where we can potentially get some upgrades coming from the blueberries. We're a bit lacking in our bag space at this point. On sale flawed topaz is good as well. Okay, so that all upgraded nicely. Probably want these rats. Well, we're hurting on space at this point. It's another one that does damage, and it does it quickly. It did just get buffed in this patch as well, but the poison and the debuff adds aren't huge. Maybe we just need to let the Wolpentinger go. I'm like worried about our bag space at this point. It's a pretty heavy investment in the Wolpentinger when we're not going to be using the stamina. It's just going to be a very expensive buff generator. So we'll just let all of these go. We really need to find a Goobert. Right, the Prismatic Sword. There's a lot going on here. Prismatic Sword with the Poison Staff and the debuff Dagger. Seems like he's damaging us faster than we're damaging him. We do scale up a little bit though, right? We get that poison coming in, and then the oil lamp, and also the crit as we generate little bits more clovers, and so good stuff there. Would like to find a way to potentially get up to 10 mana if we can, right? Just having the single blueberries isn't a spectacular way of getting there, but it's okay at this point. Let's take a roll. We want the bag. This other stuff is off theme. What do we got now? Another 4-slot bag. Guess we end up taking on sale pets. Such a good deal. It's hard to pass up a good deal, you know. the important things out here, right? Can't pass up on a good deal. All right, let's fix this up a little more. I want to start getting the Shield of Valor away from the Pandemonium. It's just a little bit awkward over there in terms of our item usage. All right, so we'll get this kind of crappy hedgehog down here. We don't have a ton of buffs that come out of putting these pets together. Like, I mean, I guess this is kind of a thing. Might as well put the hedgehog next to the squirrel. Makes the squirrel... No, it doesn't make the squirrel any better. Just leave it out. Definitely want to upgrade the amethyst. Okay, I mean, that's close to about as good as it's going to get. Maybe here we go. Get one more star out of the Pandemonium, and then I guess we can put the hedgehog up in the nature bag. The nature bag, Rick. The nature bag. Rick Hedgehog. Yeah, man, I watched that Ric Flair documentary on Netflix, and it was harsh. That is not a good dude. Not a good dude. Such a part of my childhood, though. Any child of the '80s probably just sat around and watched wrestling all weekend. So Ric Flair had to be a big part of your day. All right, let's not get distracted though. We're running long on this video because I ranted so hard in the beginning. And so here, like, I'm fine with the stamina sack. We just got to find these like final upgrades for our build. Need to definitely try and find the old King Goobert if we can. We've got the crown. That would be one thing to add in. Also, just need like another mana generator. So a blueberries or a, oh, what's it called? Just the actual mana generation item, the mana orb would be good as well. So I don't like passing up these Cap of Resiliences. I do want to go ahead and get the second one. I think we'll add it in. And that's going to sap all of our money for the turn. Not really interested in picking up Box of Riches, although I guess it is kind of free, right? We can just pick up the box and sell it next round. We'll get a free gem for our efforts. Okay. Works for me. Hope we got the banana in the wrong place up here. Hopefully that doesn't ruin us. So what do we got? This is going to be a resurrection of some sorts. It feels like we're pretty far behind here. I know his health is falling lower than ours, but he's going to get a lot of that back. Zinged him, though. We actually hit the 10 mana right at the end as well. Go us. Okay, we got a leather bag. Looks good. I'll pick up this flawed ruby as well. It's not a terrible deal. Don't really want any of these pets. The good pets have just been non-existent up at this point. Guess we'll take a rat. Like, this is the point in the game to where you have to decide if you're going to go for the final battle, and we probably should not, right? I don't think our build is really sustainable in terms of taking it into the survival rounds, but we'll probably do it anyways if it turns up here. Let's see, let's get this stuff fixed real quick. Alright, our Pandemonium's active again. Get the heal and the Ripsaw Blade. Chip Topaz is not really doing anything out here. You can look to sell it in a future round. Okay, battle begin. See if we can't survive it out. It's about as good as you can hope for with this dumb bag. Alright, so he's got some poisons coming at us. He's starting with the big health. His poison's scaling up a little bit faster than ours. But we do get to steal some of his buffs and stuff. See if we can outrace it. Nice, we got there. And so, yeah, again, like as far as our build goes right now, we don't have a ton of immediately apparent upgrades, right? We need a Goobert to make the King Crown Goobert. We need a Cap of Resilience thing or a Dark Crystal to make the second Cap of Resilience. But a lot of the things that would upgrade our build, number one, are kind of tough to find, and number two, we need to like upgrade it. Like when I'm at this point to where we've one-hearted into the survival rounds, I want to be at that point to where I'm like, okay, I'm adding in a mana generator, or I'm adding in an item that just naturally works on its own. And so it's like one of the holy things that spends mana, like the invulnerable generator, something like that is what I'm really looking for here. And the upgrades that we would want just take too much time. But we can just try and blast through it here real quick. Again, I admit that the proper path to take, I think, is just to take the win and quit. But we'll go into the survival mode because content, yo. Because content, yo. As Jesse Pinkman would say. So, all right, we got a squirrel. Good addition. I don't think our items use the Mani Niku. Is this? Yeah, the Ripsaw Blade isn't godly. The Whelp is. And then the Pandemonium is not, so we can skip over that. Might as well pick up a speed bag. Second pet for the round, not horrible. Okay, so let's get these friends in here and up and running. Probably decent positioning. Start the battles. We'll see the big upgrade items we need in the final round, so that we don't actually get to take any of the upgrades. All right, you can see that invulnerability hanging out, always so good. I could definitely be happy if we got a second invulnerability item. We might be able to use that sustain just a little bit. All right, here's the Goobert turning up, though. We'll take the bag. And here's the sustain item, right? The glowing crown. I'll happily enough try and fit that in the bag as well, but Let's see if we can't get our Goobert upgrading. This last bag, we're bagged out at this point. All right, fine, we'll just sell it. Do we ever get up to 12? Let's sell off the flute and just go ahead and put the crown in. I like that. I like that. All right, get these squirrels going and stuff. Okay, not terrible. We'll get one round of the King Goobert, huh? I'm pretty certain that he needs us to rearrange the bags as well. Not gonna do it, but you know, that thing is there. I don't think we're gonna survive out against this one. How are we not dead yet? He's got 3 mana thirsts and just doesn't have any crit. Is that his problem? LOL. What happened, dude? What was wrong with your build? He doesn't have a wand. What is wrong with it? No crit. Oh, okay. I'm used to seeing these mana thirst builds thinking it's a ranger, and this is not a ranger. It's a reaper. All right, we're making it. We're getting through this somehow. And so King Goobert comes in. Let's see if we can't at least get him like non-embarrassing levels of activations, right? We can still like set him next to the Shield of Valor and get something out of it. So that looks good. I think we just roll for pets. We got upgrade we can't use. I love it. We're not gonna... I guess we do put some debuffs on the opponent. Keep rolling. The Jinx Tortilla is not horrible, I guess. Try and find to where it can just land on all of our weapons. That looks like a thing. Got a handful of activations on the King Goobert. It just looks so bad. I'm not going to take the time to rearrange this for one round. Ideally, he should be in a spot to where he's getting better activations, but it just kind of is what it is at this point. So let's push the button and jump on in. That's the high tier content everyone is looking for. High tier, top tier, if you will. Number 1 tier. It's kind of nice at least being able to, say, steal some of this guy's mana to activate our invulnerables. We have 3 invulnerables. This would be pretty sick if we had a mana orb to ensure that we could activate them over and over and over again. Seems like we're still going to pull the round down. Nice victory for Bust. GG, well played. And so, you know, not a bad battle. I know we covered a lot in this video. We went over a lot of things, but I think that this is how we're going to see a lot of these Ranger-based games break down, right? It's so challenging to get a mana-based build going that it's just tough to do. Like, you can't really go for it. Like, if you saw how that one went, we did see the mana orb early. So we would have been able to develop the Critwood staff, but then none of the other mana items showed up the remainder of the game. Like, we saw some prismatic orbs late, but we never saw another mana orb. It's very challenging for that to work, and I don't remember at what point we saw like a vampiric weapon, and so they may not have even shown up this round. So that's kind of like off the table. The Thorns builds we will come across. We're going to run into some early game starts that carry the Thorns builds a little bit better. So that's going to be a commonality that you'll see in this upcoming week. But these pets builds are what I think you will most often see when you get stuck with this Ranger thing. And it's not like our build does anything spectacular or good here, right? This is a real like mishmash of what a build should be doing. We got, you know, the decent weapon and the Thorn Ripper. We found 1 dragon. We got a King Goobert right at the end. Like, those are nice things, but nothing came together early enough to make any of this actually work, right? Ideally, if we're going to be pets, it's because we found a dragon early and we found like a Wulpentinger on sale or something, and then we're just kind of like, well, we've got, you know, two pets, let's just keep going pets from there. Or we've got a dragon and a Carrot Goobert, or a dragon and a Goobert, and we turn it into King Goobert later. Like, those are the things that you typically want to be using before you go down this path of the pets build, because otherwise you know, you're just like finding shitty things like squirrels and mice that don't really do anything. To me, the big like powerful things out of the pets builds are the dragons and the King Goobert, and then the other parts are just kind of incidental. And so it's kind of tough to go down that path. But otherwise, you know, again, I think this bag is weak. It might be the weakest bag in the game. I'm not certain. I haven't played the Pyromancer reroll bag yet, and so maybe I'll just hate that one more. But definitely feels worse than the other Ranger bag. The crit bag is so strong. It definitely feels worse than both of the Reaper bags. It feels worse than both of the Berserker bags. And so It doesn't leave much room for this thing to not be the worst one in the game, and a lot of that just gets tied into the RNG that I hate so much. And so we'll see how it goes. We got a few more days until Friday, so we'll crank out some more Ranger videos, and then we'll see how it goes from there. And so, good stuff. I had fun with that. I hope you did too, because that is going to do it for us today. So, if everyone enjoyed the video, hope you able to learn a thing or two along the way. You had a good time watching it. This is Bustin' Weed. Thank you for being here.